Mother's Day. I may have shared with you last year that ministers know that the two most highly charged holidays are Mother's Day and Father's Day. For all of us carry a history about our mothers and our fathers, and about how perhaps we mothered, or didn't mother, or didn't have the opportunity to mother, or wish we'd mothered differently. Highly charged holiday. And traditionally, of course, it is to honor mothers, is to honor the nurturing and the comforting and the tending to of our mothers. And in Unity, it is that. And it is more. For we look at the many ways that nurturing occurs. We look at mothering, at that beautiful quality of compassion and tending to that we all possess. That we all possess and have the ability to express in a variety of ways. And so, yes, it's about our mothers, and it's about ourselves as mothers and our children, our daughters as mothers, and more. It's honoring every aspect of that nurturing quality that every one of us possesses. Every one of us. And it is such a magical, beautiful quality. That quality of tending to something separate and apart from ourselves. Of giving of our heart, of opening our heart to something else. And there's many ways that we do that. If it's not a child, we might tend to a pet companion. Zan calls them our furry friends. Not all of them are furry, pet companions. But tending to something apart from ourselves. It might be a garden. You hear that often, you tend to the garden. What was the message that Jesus left with the disciples? Tend the sheep. Ministers tend the flock. You may know of individuals, or you might be an individual that tends to their home or their car. Might be something that's not living and breathing, but something separate and apart that you take care of. And that's all part of that same quality. In Florida, there's a program that's been going on for several years now, a very successful program, where an agency works with men in prison and matches them up with dogs that would have been put to sleep, dogs that had been abused, dogs that have perhaps been used in dog fights or have shown aggression of some sort. And they're very thoroughly evaluated, and then they're matched up with prisoners who are committed to going through this program. And the dog lives in the crate in their cell, and they're tended to, they're taken care of, they're fed, they're watered, they're walked by the prisoner. They're taught simple commands. And it is a huge success, both for the animal and the prisoner. It's very obvious when you see even just photographs of the animals before, the dogs before, cowering and getting as small as they can get because they're fearful. And then afterwards, where they've been given love and attention and been touched. We all need touch. They've been touched. And they've grown in confidence. And they wag their tail and they're happy. And the prisoners report a shift in who they are as loving individuals. For many of them grew up in communities where they had to be the man of the house practically from the time they were born. And they were not encouraged to show love or compassion or tenderness. They had to be tough if they were going to survive in their neighborhood. Some prisoners report this is the first time they've ever felt unconditional love from anyone or anything, or been allowed to give that to something else. And the prisoners who are fathers say that going through the program made them better fathers, taught them how to open their heart, to feel safe in loving someone else. It's a human quality. It's not only a female quality. And it goes beyond the human quality. We see it in animals, especially animals that grow up together in the same household. They're not supposed to care for one another. They're supposed to be bitter enemies, like dogs and cats. Or I had a couple of Salukis that are kind of like greyhound. They're sight dogs, and so they're supposed to, chase and kill. And they were raised with my children's ferrets, and they did not do that. People were amazed that the Salukis were so gentle. But we also see it in the wild. We see that nurturing quality in the wild. Not only with their offspring, but sometimes across species. You've read about, I'm sure, especially in shelters, where there'll be a dog or a cat that becomes the mom. And no matter what animal is brought in, they mother that other animal. Try Googling it. Google dogs adopt and see what pops up. It'll be kittens, it'll be monkeys, various animals. Do the same thing with cats. You say cats adopt and baby squirrels pop up, variety. And you may have seen a video. It's from 1999, and it's from this couple in Massachusetts that took a video of this black crow that adopted a baby kitten that was tossed over their fence, that was so small when it was abandoned that the woman that lived there thought it was a rat. And this crow adopted this baby kitten. And they have videos of the crow breaking up food and feeding the cat first. And as the cat grew bigger, it would try to cross the road or go sit in the road, and the crow would try to chase it off the road, push it off the road, have a fit. These are supposed to be mortal enemies, a bird and a cat. But nurturing is part of who we are. It's part of not just our humanity. It's part of all of life. It's part of our essence. And our world needs us. Our world needs that nurturing quality that we have, that compassionate quality. Our world needs us to look at the news and know that we have our prayer list for the week. Our world needs for us to not sit in judgment of what we read about, but to hold a space of healing and love. Not only does our world need that, but our church community needs that. We need to be embraced by your compassion, by your nurturing, and by your love. For we are going through a fragile time. We're going through a time of loss. Where there's loss, there's grief. Where there's grief, there's sadness. Where there's sadness, there can be anger. As we move to a space of healing, and we only get to that healing when we've opened our hearts in compassion to one another to allow that healing to take place. Now, ministers are not great about asking for what they need because we're here to tend the flock. I need for this community to open their compassionate hearts, to love one another, to be accepting, to move through loss and grief to the place of healing. This community needs that. I need that. I need for this to be a place where gossip and rumor dies on the vine because there's nobody willing to listen to it, much less take it another step. For we have this community, we have this church. Unity has been in the Wichita community for 83 years. 83 years ago, it started as a study group. There have been many ministers come and go. Some have stayed for a while, some have stayed for a long time. Marlon White was here for 23 years, and he's going to be here next week as a guest speaker. Yay. We've had many sound people come and go. Hey, Nick, no offense. Had many sound people come and go. Had many office administrators, Samantha's come and go, and bookkeepers and music departments. The roots here are deep. And this sanctuary is filled with the prayers that have been said by people way before our time. The songs that have been sung, the meditations that have been led, the lessons that have been expressed, the hearts that have been opened. We are blessed to have a beautiful community, and this community needs our love now, needs our understanding, needs our healing so that it can heal, and it shall heal, and move forward and birth something new. For if we're not in the process of birthing something new, we're not growing, and you know what that means. And this church has grown for a long time and will continue to do so. For that's who we are. That's what unity is. Unity's message is one of love and acceptance, of inspiring personal spiritual transformation. And we bless that message and carry that message individually and communally. When we turn to Scripture this morning, we're finding that the Israelites were going through a really, really bad time. As we see in Isaiah 66. It says, "As a mother comforts her child, so will I comfort you, and you will be comforted over Jerusalem." Well, we understand a mother comforts her child, so I will comfort you, but what is this part about Jerusalem? Well, the Israelites have returned to Jerusalem, or at least a fragment of the Israelites have returned to Jerusalem to find their city in ruins, their temple gone, and their city inhabited by aliens, people not from their own culture, foreigners. And they are despondent. They feel separate from God. And this prophet Isaiah says, no, God is everywhere present. God doesn't need a temple. God is right where you are. You cannot be apart from God. That is the message that we find here. We cannot be apart from God. It is not possible. We may feel separate, but that is our own misunderstanding. That is our own temporary veil that has been placed upon us, that we've placed upon ourselves. For God is always present, and there is always something waiting to be birthed within us, to be expressed through us as the very nature of God. That's who we are. And this is the promise that we find here in the Hebrew Scriptures, in the Old Testament. It affirms the value of comforting. For as a mother is with a child, God is with us, and we have the ability to be with one another. And so on this Mother's Day, I invite you to sit back. If you don't have a tissue nearby, you might want to find one. For Samantha has put together a beautiful video. Many of you have shared photos with us, and those who didn't, Samantha did a little Facebook stalking, and we have got a beautiful presentation for you. Enjoy.